Well, I've coached at a few levels. I started out at high school and sort of have just worked my way up a little bit. I spent about 6 years at a junior college and then a few years at an NAIA level, and then most recently I spent the last 3 years at the University of Hawaii Hilo, which is a Division II school. We decided that we loved the opportunity to make that jump to Division I, and we'd always been interested in experiencing the East Coast and allowing our children to have that opportunity. Yeah, obviously an entirely different group, and with that it's a little bit good, a little bit bad. I'm really excited to have them here. Two of the coaches came with me. They've been with me for the last couple of years over in Hawaii, and one came over from Texas. My first assistant is Alan McCreary. He came from Angelo State. He's someone I've known for a lot of years. Even back when I was coaching junior college, he was a local high school coach over in California, and so I think he's going to really assist us in our recruiting efforts. The other two I'm even more familiar with, and Leslie Da Silva, who was my first assistant last year in Hawaii. She's from Brazil. She has a lot of high-level playing experience. She played professionally over in Italy for a couple of years. And she was an All-American at a National American University in South Dakota, and just has a tremendous knowledge of the volleyball. The other one who came over with me from Hawaii he'll be our student assistant this year, and he works quite a bit with our defense. He's someone who has a young arm, and he can take a lot of swings, and to help hopefully prepare our players for the bigger attackers in the conference, and someone who just has a lot of passion for the game of volleyball. He's going to be a great addition to our team this year. He's also going to be working in large part with our video editing, which is something that over the last few years we've used more and more each year. I think that having that opportunity to get to know them, on a personal level, really helped. It assisted our recruiting in knowing not only what we need to try to bring in immediately and in upcoming years, but also things that we needed to focus on right away. So even when we weren't able to necessarily practice at times, obviously the coaching staff is focused on what we're going to immediately need to meet, what changes we need to make right away. And I think the girls have really worked hard. It's a very hard-working group, and hopefully that time will benefit us now that we're coming into season. Well, our main focus was to increase our level of ball control. Really we've spent almost all of our time on basic fundamental skills, and I think that we definitely have some very talented players, but they need, like all athletes, they need a little bit of additional training, and they need a lot of reps, and hopefully that's what they'll get. We needed to give ourselves a little bit of depth. Not necessarily that the incomers will be starting immediately, but they'll definitely be contributing in one way or another. Katie Buck, as an incoming freshman, is someone who we hope will be able to help us immediately on the outside. She's a very talented player, aggressive swing, consistent ball control, and a pretty good defender. And so, we're very pleased with how she's progressing right away. I mentioned earlier that ball control was a big concern, and we were very fortunate to bring in Lauren Tonokawa, who had played for me the last 3 years in Hawaii, and so she'll be with us just this 1 year. At this point, it looks like she will be our starting libero, and she just adds a lot of things to us. Experience. she's coming from a winning program, and so she doesn't have that weight necessarily on her shoulders or the baggage that comes with getting beat up for a year or two. And she's just really strong both academically and on the court. I think that they're definitely going to contribute right away. You know, I think that a couple of them in particular have really stepped up through the spring, and then also in large part on their own in the summer with their conditioning. You know, they worked hard throughout the summer and came into our preseason training camps in pretty good shape. You know, I think both of our starting middle blockers this year will be players who were on the team last year, and Shaylin Hoyt and Susan Ganser. And I think both have improved considerably since last year, especially Susan. You know, Shay was a little bit ahead of Susan last year, and I think that Susan has made one of the largest turnarounds or levels of improvement that I've seen in my entire coaching career. Evan Schultz, who was sort of an on and off starter last year as setter, has, you know, a little bit of experience under her belt, and she's probably the most vocal person on the court. This is someone that we're definitely going to be putting a little bit more weight on to help carry our team. You know, I think that's one of the things that we need. We need a lot of matches before we get into conference play. You know, and hopefully we'll be able to progress little by little. I think that I was talking with the team yesterday. I think that's one of the strengths that hopefully this team has, is that we are running a new offense, we're running a different defense, we have new faces, and so even though all teams are improving throughout this time, I'm hoping that we're improving a little bit faster than most, just because we're making so many more changes than a typical team normally would. Well, I think, you know, there are a few teams who definitely stand out towards the top, and you know, that's what we need to work hard to be able to compete at that level if we want to compete for a conference championship and beyond. You know, I think Delaware's done really well in recent years. VCU, George Mason are probably the top three to really watch. William and Mary is probably the biggest up-and-comer, and you know, so those four will definitely be teams to contend with.